Hey everyone, welcome back to another Python tutorial. I hope you're all doing great. Today we're going to explore one of the most essential data types in Python, strings. Strings allow us to handle text-based data, and understanding them is crucial for working with Python efficiently. If you are a bachelor's degree or engineering student, mastering strings is essential as they form the backbone of various applications, from simple scripts to complex data processing and automation tasks. Understanding string operations, methods, and formatting will be invaluable in your coding journey. Right now, I have an open Python file named hello.py, which we will be using for trying out things. In that file, we previously printed a simple message. Welcome to Python. Let me quickly run the script so we can see it in action. When executed, it displays the text as expected. The print function takes a text value and displays it on the screen. However, instead of directly passing the text into print, we can store this message inside a variable, which makes it reusable and easier to manage. Let's create a variable to store our message. Instead of writing the text inside print, I'll assign it to a variable called greeting. Now I can simply print greeting instead of typing the message each time. The result remains the same, but now our message is stored in a variable, making it more flexible. Here, greeting is the variable name, and it holds a string value. Unlike languages that rely on semicolons, colons, braces, or brackets for structuring code, Python uses indentation and whitespace to define blocks of code. This approach makes Python more readable and cleaner compared to many other languages. Speaking of variables, naming them correctly is important. In Python, variables should be meaningful and follow a few conventions. Generally, they are written in lowercase, and if the name contains multiple words, underscores are used to separate them. For example, instead of writing user message as a full word, it's better to write user underscore message, which improves readability. A good variable name describes what it holds, making your code easier to understand. If I were to name a variable just X, it would definitely work, but it wouldn't be clear to someone reading my code in the future. Naming it message underscore content instead makes it obvious that it stores a message. Clear variable names are essential, especially when working on large projects or collaborating with others. Python allows us to create strings using both single quotes and double quotes. Both work in the same way, so you can use whichever you prefer. For example, if I assign Python is fun to a variable using single quotes, and also if I assign Python is fun using double quotes, both will produce the same output when printed. However, there are cases where choosing the right type of quotes is important. If a string contains an apostrophe, using single quotes might cause an issue. For example, if I write, "It's a great day," Python will misinterpret the apostrophe in "it's" as the end of the string, leading to an error. To fix this, we have two options. The first is to use an escape character, which is a backslash before the apostrophe, like this, "It's a great day." The second, and often simpler option, is to use double quotes, "It's a great day." This way, Python understands that the apostrophe is part of the string and doesn't mistake it for the end. The same applies in reverse. If your string contains double quotes, it's better to use single quotes around it. For example, he said, "Python is amazing," will work without any issues. Now, what if you want a string that spans multiple lines? Instead of writing separate print statements, you can use triple quotes. If I assign a string using 3 double quotes or 3 single quotes, I can write text over multiple lines, and Python will keep the formatting intact. This is useful when dealing with longer messages, documentation, or text blocks. For example, I can assign a variable long underscore message with 3 quotes and write multiple lines inside it. When printed, it will display the text exactly as written, including line breaks. Now that we understand how to create strings, let's explore how to work with them. One of the most common things we might want to do is find out how many characters a string contains. In Python, we can use the len function to determine the length of a string. For example, if I assign the word Python to a variable and then print len of variable name, Python will return the number 6, since there are 6 characters in the word Python. This function counts every character, including spaces, so if your string contains spaces or punctuation, they will be included in the count. Another useful thing we can do with strings is access individual characters. Since strings are made up of a sequence of characters, each character has a position, also known as an index. In Python, indexing starts at 0, which means the first character of the string is at position 0, the second character is at position 1, and so on. If I assign the word Python to a variable, I can use square brackets to access a specific character. For example, printing word square brackets 0 will return the first letter, P, while word of 3 will return H. We can also use negative indexing to count from the end of the string. If I use word of -1, Python will return N, which is the last character. This is useful when you want to grab characters from the end of a string without knowing its exact length. However, it's important to be careful when accessing indexes. If you try to access a position that doesn't exist, Python will throw an index error. For example, if the string Python has 6 characters, trying to access index 10 will result in an error because that position doesn't exist in the string. Apart from accessing individual characters, we can also extract sections of a string. This is called slicing. Slicing allows us to take a portion of the string instead of the whole thing. The syntax for slicing is similar to indexing, but uses a colon to specify a range. If I have the phrase hello world, I can extract only the hello part by writing phrase of 0:5. The first number represents the starting position, and the second number represents the stopping position. So if I write phrase of 7 and colon without the stopping number, Python will return world, which means starting from index 7 and going all the way to the end. Similarly, if I write phrase of :5, Python will assume I want to start from the beginning and return hello. Omitting the start or end index is a useful shortcut that makes slicing more flexible. Since we're working with strings, Python provides several built-in methods to manipulate them easily. One common task is changing the case of a string. Let's say I have the text Python programming, which are in sentence case. If I want to convert it to all lowercase letters, I can use the lower method, and if I want to convert it to uppercase, I can use .upper method. Calling text.lower will return Python programming all in small letters, and text.upper will return the same, all in capital letters. These methods are useful when working with user input, where you may want to standardize the case before processing the data. Another useful method is counting occurrences of a character or word in a string. The .count method allows us to see how many times a specific character or substring appears. For example, if I assign the value banana to a variable and call variable.count of a, Python will return 3 since the letter A appears 3 times in the word banana. We can also find the position of a substring within a string using the .find method. If I have the sentence, learning Python is fun, and call sentence.findPython, Python will return 9, which is the starting index of the word Python in the sentence. If the substring isn't found, the method returns -1, indicating that the word doesn't exist in the given text. For example, if I try sentence.find Java, Python will return -1, because Java is not present in the sentence. Now that we've explored how to access and manipulate strings, let's look at another useful operation, replacing text within a string. Python provides a method called .replace that allows us to substitute one word or character with another. For example, if I have the text, I love apples, and I want to change apples to bananas, I can simply write text.replace apples, bananas. Running this will return I love bananas. However, there's something important to note here. The .replace method does not modify the original string in place. Instead, it creates a new string with the changes. If you print text again after calling .replace, you'll see that the original I love apples is still unchanged. To actually update the value, you need to assign the modified string back to the variable like this. Text equals text. .replace apples, bananas. Now, when you print text, it will permanently store the new value. Let's move on to another common operation, combining strings. In Python, we can concatenate or join multiple strings together using the plus operator. For example, if I have 2 variables, first name equal to Alice and last name equal to Johnson, I can join them by writing full name equal to first name plus space plus last name. The extra space in between ensures there's a gap between the 2 words. When printed, it correctly displays Alice Johnson. However, Concatenation using plus can become a little tricky if we are working with many different parts of a string. If we were to create a longer sentence like, "Hello, my name is Alice and I love Python," writing it using plus everywhere could get confusing. To make this process easier, Python provides formatted strings, which allow us to insert variables directly into a string in a cleaner way. One approach is using the format method. Instead of writing hello, b plus space, pals name, we can write hello, curly braces, dot format of name, and Python will replace curly braces with the value of name. If we have multiple placeholders, we pass multiple values inside dot format. This makes it easier to construct sentences dynamically. An even simpler way of formatting strings in Python is using f-strings, which were introduced in Python 3.6. They work just like dot format, but instead of curly placeholders, we can directly insert variables inside curly braces by prefixing the string with f. For example, writing f of hello braces name will insert the value of name directly into the string. If name is Alice, then printing this will output hello Alice. The great thing about f-strings is that they allow us to perform operations inside the placeholders. For example, if we wanted to print the name in all uppercase letters, we could write f hello braces name dot upper and it would return hello Alice in capitals. This is a powerful way to format text dynamically. Let's look at one more useful trick before we move forward. Sometimes we want to repeat a string multiple times. Python makes this easy by using the asterisk operator. If we write ha *3, Python will output ha ha ha. This is useful in cases where we want to create repeated patterns, separators, or just for fun. Quick quiz for you. If I have the string hello world and I run text.replace of o, a, what will the output be? Let me know your answer in the comments. Now that we've explored string formatting and concatenation, let's move on to another important topic: checking and modifying strings with built-in methods. One useful method is starts with, which helps us check if a string begins with a certain word or character. For example, if we have the sentence iPhone is amazing, we can check if it starts with iPhone by writing sentence.starts with of iPhone. The code will return true because the sentence indeed starts with iPhone. Similarly, we can use .ends with to check if a string ends with a specific word or character. If we write sentence.ends with of amazing, Python will again return true. These methods are helpful when working with file names, URLs, or filtering text data. Another common operation is removing extra spaces from strings. Sometimes, when dealing with user input, we may have extra spaces at the beginning or end of a string. The strip method removes these unnecessary spaces. For example, if we have a string which has a space and hello and another space, calling text.strip will return hello with the extra spaces removed. If we only want to remove spaces from the left side, we use lstrip, and for the right side, we use rstrip. These methods are very useful when cleaning up text input. Python also allows us to split a string into multiple parts using the split method. This is particularly useful when dealing with sentences, CSV data, or any structured text. If we have a sentence like Python is fun to learn, calling sentence.split will break it into individual words. By default, split method uses spaces to separate words, but we can specify a custom delimiter. For example, if we have a string apple, banana, grape, calling fruits.split and passing dot will return an array containing elements apple, banana, grape. This is useful when working with comma-separated values or structured text files. On the flip side, if we have a list of words and want to join them into a single string, we can use .join. Suppose we have a list like Python is awesome. Calling join will combine them into Python is awesome. The space before join defines what character will be used between words. If we wanted to join them with a comma, we could write comma.join, which would produce Python is awesome. This method is incredibly useful when working with large amounts of text data. Another interesting feature in Python is checking if a string contains only certain types of characters. The is alpha method returns true if a string contains only letters and no numbers or special characters. For example, iPhone is alpha will return true, but iPhone 17 is alpha will return false because it contains numbers. Similarly, is digit checks if a string consists only of numbers. 12345 is digit will return true, but iPhone 17 is digit will return false because it contains letters. We also have is alnum, which checks if a string contains only letters and numbers but no spaces or special characters. These checks are useful when validating user input, like usernames or passwords. Quick quiz for you. If I have the string banana, apple, grape, and I call fruits.split of comma, what will the result be? Drop your answer in the comments. Now that we've covered various ways to manipulate strings, let's wrap things up by discussing a couple of powerful tools for exploring strings in Python. Sometimes, when working with strings, you might want to quickly see what operations are available. Python provides two useful functions for this, dir and help. The dir function allows us to see all the methods available for a particular data type. For example, if we write dir of str, Python will return a list of all functions and attributes that can be used with strings. This list includes methods like .upper, lower, .replace, and many others we've discussed. However, dir only gives us the names of these methods. It doesn't explain what they do. If we want more details about a specific method, we can use the help function. For example, writing help of str.upper will display an explanation of what upper does. This works for any built-in Python function. If you're ever unsure about how a method works, help is a great way to quickly find out without searching online. With all this knowledge, let's quickly recap what we've covered. We started by understanding how to create strings using both single and double quotes, and we learned how to store them in variables. We then explored string indexing and slicing, which allowed us to access individual characters and extract parts of a string. Next, we looked at useful built-in string methods like lower, upper, replace, count, split, and join, which help us manipulate text efficiently. We also learned about formatted strings using format and fstrings to dynamically insert variables into text. Finally, we covered string validation methods like isAlpha, isDigit, and isAlnum, along with Python's built-in functions, dir, and help for exploring available methods. With that, we wrap up our discussion on strings. In the next video, we'll dive into numbers in Python, where we'll explore integers, floating point numbers, and mathematical operations. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with others who might benefit from it. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. See you in the next lesson.